Welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to talk about the difference between animal mediumship and human mediumship. And the reason that this comes up is that sometimes as animal communicators, even though I'm intending to talk to animals who've crossed over, sometimes people come through. One time I had a person that showed up and I could not move forward with the reading. They had something they wanted to say, so I just had to let them talk before I could actually get to the animals. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes when I'm talking to an animal who's crossed over, they'll tell me who they're with, and I just get it's a male or a female, and maybe a relationship to the person. But people do sometimes come through when you're talking to animals. So has that happened to you, Mary Beth?
Many times, many times. Like you said, a lot of times it's for different reasons. For example, I know in the last video we talked about me recently losing my little girl, my 15-year-old cocker. And while I was connecting with her and during the process, my grandmother came through loud and strong. And it was a really big healing process for me because my little girl was such a Velcro dog. And the mom part of me is like, I just don't want to let her go. I want to kind of give her to someone, or to kind of make sure she's still protected and loved. And so my grandmother did come through both with another medium and my mom who was doing a reading with me as well. And I think that's one of the main reasons too. A lot of times people will come through. And I know we did a YouTube readings. We did one of those roundtable readings, and some people came through with for people who wanted their animals read. And I think that was a big healing moment for them because, again, they're like, okay, my dog is with so and so, which also means so and so is still here. And so that's one way. Another times is just simply for messages. People have sometimes have something to say because they're still with us. And so I've had many times where people will come through, especially if they have a certain thing to say to help the person along the journey. Now, I don't do, I haven't actually done a lot of mediumship readings strictly with the intention of human mediumship professionally. However, during intuitive classes and practices, I have done more mediumship readings. How about you?
That's the same for me. I don't generally intend to talk to humans, but because this does come up, I've taken a class on mediumship and practiced a little bit so that I can also get more validating information to find out who those people are. Because it is very common that there is a person there to help an animal when they cross over, whether they met the animal or not. That question comes up a lot. People will say, oh, it can't be so and so because they didn't know the animal, but they show up because they both have you in common. So if that ever happens during a reading, it can be anyone, whether they knew the animal or not. But it's important for other animal communicators and clients to know that when you have this ability to communicate with spirit, it can be with any kind of spirit. Even though we specialize in animal communication, that doesn't mean that there aren't other energies that we connect with.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head is that it's energy. The human will come through and it'll just feel intuitively a human versus an animal, but it is all energy. And like you said, things will come through. I've had guides come through. I've had, different energies like that. And I encourage, especially communicators, to be open to it. I really strongly feel that if someone is coming through, it's meant for that person. It's meant for your client, it's meant for your friend, whoever you're reading. It's important for them to get that message. So for me, the main difference that I notice with humans, other than it's kind of intuitively a human or an animal, is animals will just kind of come in. A lot of times I'll get the feel of their energy, sometimes, the type of animal they were, things like that. But humans like to get a little bit more shall we say, specific. Sometimes I'll come in a little bit more on the right side or the left side and kind of be indicative of, mother's side of the family, father's side of the family, a male or a female energy. And I think a lot of times that is for validative purposes and for us to kind of narrow down who this person is. Because I've had friends, I've had relatives. I had a reading at one time during a practice circle where a woman, she was actually kind of on the older side. I want to say in her 60s, but she had a high school boyfriend that came through, and it was a very tragic event the way he died, but it was for her healing because she was still kind of dealing with his passing. So anybody who's been a part of the person's life can kind of come through, and I think that's why humans like to be a little bit more specific.
Mhm. And that's a good point because sometimes the person just has something that they really want to say. And so they will show up because they sense an opening. They know
Exactly.
that the person is open to a reading and that there is the energetics available. So they will show up. And that is so funny you say that because this one instance I'm thinking about, it was like right here. And it's so, the memory is so strong to me that it was right here on my shoulder. But another difference, I think, is that with humans, we kind of expect to have a lot of validation. We expect them to come through and give us a lot of proof that they're there. And sometimes that's most of the reading with human mediumship is just the validation from them. And then maybe there's a short message or something like that. I find that with animals, the validation is usually somewhat limited. They usually tell me something about their favorite memory or something that they like to do on Earth or something about their personality. But once we get through that, it's more about the messages and connecting to the human. So I feel like I don't spend as much time bringing through evidence. Um, do you have that experience, Mary Beth?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it could be related to the relationship we've had with animals in our lives. They do play a more intimate relationship with us in the sense that, just as much time. It's just a different relationship we have with our animals versus, some other people, especially if it's like a neighbor or a high school boyfriend. They may just have a quick message, a healing, but they want you to know it's them. So, sometimes, like, for example, this high school boyfriend, if I just, if he just came through as a guy, as a young guy, it may not have quite, been the right person, or it may not have sparked the client's memory exactly to pinpoint the person. So I think that's where the validation comes in. It's funny because I won't get a lot of times names for dogs, but I will get names for humans. So, and I think it goes back to the validation. It'll be like it either sounds like or things like that. But names will come through for humans more so than animals. And the other thing I find, and it's kind of funny, some of the symbolisms can be a little bit different and almost, I don't want to say easier to understand, but I'll say easier to understand with humans because I think we kind of speak the same language, if we speak the same language. For example, I was reading somebody, and again, it was a practice session, and I don't know why I kept seeing little ants. And I was like, all right, I just keep seeing ants related to this person. I was like, is she your aunt? And there we go. It was. Whereas I don't know if animals can kind of bring the same symbolism across.
Yes, well, I think when we're doing intuitive work, everything comes through in your own frame of reference. So it kind of depends on the energy between you and whoever you're communicating with and how you can get those messages across. I think it's so cool though that you get names. I don't really get names. So I'm jealous of that. But everyone's abilities are a little bit different. And that's something that I've just kind of let go. I've tried a few times. Sometimes I get names and they don't resonate with people. So I just kind of let that go.
Yeah, you've got to, because again, it's your frame of reference, and just kind of how you get things in and what things are important to come in. From my clients, the main reason it could absolutely have nothing to do with my, quote unquote gifts, and have everything to do with the clients that I was reading. They needed the names. If you have somebody who, they need that name is important. I would 100% believe that you'll hear a name. And that goes for everybody out there who's, especially fellow readers, is don't diss what's coming through or not coming through. I think that's one important thing that we have to do, is honor the information that's coming through, because it's not egoic. We're not, oh my God, I'm amazing, I'm getting this information. No, my client needed to hear this information. And one thing I've heard is that when we can't trust ourselves, trust the animals, trust the information, because it's not, it is coming from ourselves, because we have, in the sense that we've worked on that muscle, we kind of trust it, things like that. But it's not coming from ourselves. We've just opened ourselves up to it, to
Yes,
receive the information.
that's very true, because we're just the messengers.
Exactly.
And I do feel when people say, "Oh, you were so amazing, you did an amazing job," and I always say, "It's not me, it's the animal. The animal's the one that does the work. I literally just tell you what the information is." And so you're right, that whole getting the ego out is the best thing that you can do. And it's funny, because for a long time, I would say I'm not a medium. I'm not a medium. I was kind of afraid of that, just the identification that way. But now I think of it, I talk to animals on the other side all the time. So I am an animal medium.
Right. Right. And I think the other thing too is the intention. Like you mentioned, I'm not an animal communicator, or I'm not a medium. I'm not a medium. But you're setting that up. So rather than just saying, all right, you know what comes in, comes in, and that's when things will come in. So especially new animal communicators out there, or people who are practicing, set up the intention that whoever comes in, whatever comes in, comes in. There is specific practices you can do, if you have a picture. One of my favorite things when I was going through an intuitive development course was they would put pictures of people, and they'd say, I had a gentleman that came in who wanted, like, the spouse wanted to connect with each other. And so we were able to kind of practice that. There is targeted focused practice that you can do. But I think a lot of times just opening it up, setting the intention of whatever comes in, and kind of going with it.
And I love to, I
With the
always,
highest good for all, in a
yes, that's what I
protected
was going to
space.
say. The highest and
In a
greatest
protected
good.
space. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And that means that whatever needs to come through will.
Yes, with the highest good and protective space. I got to be careful saying whatever comes in, because I do believe that there can be some, some not so nice things. There's some, but yeah. And then I think the only other thing I wanted to mention, as far as the differences, is, for example, in my personal experience, in my personal home, there was some energies of some people here, and in my mind's eye, I would get a clear view of the person. Not that I was trying to intend, like, to communicate with them, but I would feel the energy, and then I would kind of tune in. Okay, what is it? And then a lot of times I will feel some of my dogs who have passed, and some of that energy just comes through. I think for me is just intuitively. Okay, this energy was a person. This energy is an animal. This energy, and so I think they will just let us know. So if you're wondering who you're talking to, that's been my experiences. Even though it's all energy, you kind of intuitively be able to get a hit. Just like, you're talking to a cat versus a dog versus a horse versus, a bearded dragon. You'll just kind of know.
Yes. Well, and you can always ask.
Yes.
You can just say, "Who is this? What is there something you want to say to me?" Just being open is the best thing you can do.
Yes, 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 yes. So I think that's the big thing. I think the biggest take home message is, again, just to be open. And if you guys want practice, you can kind of choose, hold pictures up. And the other thing I wanted to mention too, that I really enjoyed through practice, is you can hold objects from people who've passed too. And
Mhm.
that can be some way that people talk to us too.
Yes, absolutely. So if you've ever encountered anything like this, please comment below. We'd love to hear what your experience is. Maybe you've had a reading where somebody came through that you weren't expecting. But otherwise, please like and subscribe our channel if you would like to see more videos. It helps encourage us to keep making them.
Yes, and if you have any specific topics you want to know about, please let us know. And I wanted to also put a little asterisk out there for future clients. There may or may not be somebody who comes through. A lot of times, if someone has something to say, they will. But don't be disappointed if nobody does come through. So I don't want to say people come through during every reading or things like that. So yeah,
Yes,
I never tell people, yes, somebody will be coming through. If they're meant to come through, they will.
I would say that's not the norm, but it does happen once in a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, you guys, hit like and subscribe. We'll see you for the next one.
Thank you.